morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the TT podcast. Right, let's cut straight to it. We're 9 stages into this year's Giro d'Italia, and it's a rest day. Tom, my esteemed co-host, what do we do on a rest day?
Well, on this rest day, we record an episode and try and go through the how many days has it been?
9 stages.
Yep, 9 stages. Well, in this case, we'll go through the last 9 or so stages of the Giro d'Italia. But as you can already tell, I'm getting a bit confused by the unorthodox schedule of this year's Giro.
The word I was looking for then, Tom, was recap. Would have sufficed, but
okay, recap. Yep,
we're going to recap. Let's recap. Are you ready to recap? Have you enjoyed the Giro so far? Because you've just told me off air that you found it quite boring.
It's not been. Yes, I wouldn't say I've not enjoyed it, but it's certainly not been the best week and 2 days of Grand Tour racing that I've ever seen. And I think we've alluded to this in our preview. The Giro is often quite, heavy towards the back end, and this. I don't know, even the first half, you could say, is just sort of a prelude in the calm before the storm.
I think we got that stage. So we're recording on the Sunday. So we've just had the stage up Blockhouse. And today was kind of the first real day that the GC has started to take shape. Now we're seeing names in the GC that we're expecting to be there for the rest of the race. You know, Romain Bardet, Richard Carapaz. No, I'm being serious. Don't laugh at the Bardet thing, because we can go on to that in a minute. But today's show, you
put him in there. You read his name out first.
Can I tell you your issue here, Tom? Is that you haven't watched today's stage, and I watched every kilometre of it.
I've seen the photo finish.
You're reliant on me to talk you through what happened on that stage, and by God, are you going to get the most biased recount of what happened? But in short, basically what happened was Bardet, not only was he able to go with Carapaz, he actually pipped him in the sprint on the line. And this is after Ineos Grenadiers kind of...
So Bardet won the stage, did he?
He came second on the stage, which gave him 6 bonus seconds, which puts him above Carapaz. It's tactical racing. It's savvy racing.
I obviously knew that Bardet had not won the stage when I asked that question.
You treat me sarcastically, I'm going to give you sarcastic answers as well, Tom. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked. I want to start with 2 things that I've really enjoyed from the coverage of this Giro.
Okay.
Not really enjoyed, kind of. Number one is one that it really depends. It's the whoop strain graphic thing.
Okay, as I say, this is going to be difficult for me because when I watch the Giro, especially midweek, it's on mute while I'm working. And so I am, other than the TV pictures, I'm really not hearing or seeing much.
So the whoop strain thing is obviously, you know when it happens, when they kind of just cut and it's like the rider's BPM and their whoop strain. But obviously there's only like 3 or 4 teams that have really bought into this whoop thing, that use whoop and have this technology rigged up to it. So they'll just give you at some point in the race some randomer's BPM. There'll be like 10 riders up the road, 2 riders in the gap chasing, and you'll get the BPM of like Jonathan Caicedo, who's back in the pack doing nothing.
Sat in the back, just freewheeling.
Freewheeling. They were like, oh, he's having a nice day out. I was like, I know he is. We haven't seen him on camera at all today. Why are we focusing in on his BPM? But I actually find that really interesting, and not interesting, just quite funny.
No, that would be, yeah. What's your second point? Is it equally as interesting?
Equally as more interesting, actually, which is the little graphic that comes up along the bottom of the page, explaining what the riders' favorite things are.
Oh, you have sent me a few of them.
I can't remember. Look, if I had my phone, I could show you. Wait, let me see, because I sent you Mathieu van der Poel's ones. Did I send you Mathieu van der Poel's?
No, you didn't send me Mathieu van der Poel. You sent me one of the Spanish riders who's a massive Real Betis fan.
Oh, Juanpe López.
Yeah.
Big Betis fan.
Yeah.
So we learned that his favorite sports person is Joaquin.
Who I can't stand.
Okay. But he is a stalwart of the Real Betis team. He's been there for what, 15 years or something?
On and off, yeah. He's just won the Copa del Rey with them again. They've got Granada tonight, actually. Big game. Massive game if you're into Granada like I am.
For somebody who's just said that you can't stand Real Betis, you know quite a lot of Real Betis trivia.
For somebody who worked with me in a Spanish football department in Malaga, it can't come as too much as a surprise.
Okay. The other 2 things that I've learned today are Jonathan Caicedo, who I just mentioned then. His favourite film is Rambo.
I think that's a solid choice.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. And non peter. You know the guy I mean, HTR.
I know who you mean. Yeah, yeah.
His favorite food, right? You would think something super French here, like I don't know.
I'm thinking escargot or something's
Yeah,
coming up
like a
here. Yeah,
boeuf bourguignon.
yeah.
He went with chocolate cake.
Again, but you can't really knock it, can you? It's unexpected, but it's who doesn't like chocolate cake?
I think as well, if I'm remembering correctly, he put his favorite music down as electro, which is a very French one to go for.
I don't know. Yeah, Daft Punk.
I'm trying to think of other ones that I've seen off the top of my head, but I can't think of them. Right, I've got Lopez's things here. Oh yeah, this is interesting. Right, so we'll go through Lopez's, all of them because he's the race leader and he deserves that, and we deserve to know more about him.
Mm-hmm.
Travel destination, Africa.
Nothing more specific than
Nothing more specific, just the entire continent of Africa.
Interesting.
And all its, diversity. He just wants to go anywhere there.
So that's a worse answer than chocolate cake, I'll be honest.
Yeah, that is. That is the answer of somebody who's been pressured into giving answers to these questions. It was probably preceded with, I don't know, maybe, and then said that.
Africa?
Yeah. Sports legend Joaquin, we've been through that. Languages, English and Spanish. Very good for him. Movie, The Silence of the Lambs.
It's a good film.
Yeah,
Hannibal Lecter.
It's a bit dark, isn't it?
Didn't Anthony Hopkins win the Oscar?
I think it's a good film, but I'm not sure if it's your favorite film, is it?
I don't know. It's a very successful franchise series of books and films, isn't it? He's the foremost well-known serial killer in the world.
Okay, right. We digress.
Yeah.
Not that this isn't an entire digression at all. His favorite music is flamenco.
That's absolutely fair enough. He's probably got Rosalia on now.
Well, as an Andalusian from Sevilla, the birthplace of flamenco, I think. I'm not by any means the authority on that. But yeah, I like that idea. Really feeding the stereotype a little bit there, Juanpe, but that's good. And his favorite food, and I don't know if this is a thing, he's put mama food.
That's got to be a Spanish thing.
Yeah, he's la comida de mama or something, and they've
translated literally just
mama
like
food.
What my mum cooks. Yeah,
yeah, that's what's happened there. Yeah. So anyway, that's one of the other things that I like, and also the bike racing is fairly interesting sometimes too.
Fairly interesting. As we know, I like Italy, so it's very nice. Not Sicily can take it or leave it, but now we're getting up the spine into real Italy. I'm beginning to enjoy it. Naples is lovely, and next week we get into the good stuff.
Well, wonderful. We had a criterium around Naples on Saturday.
Yeah, I know. It's a stunning place. I could talk about Naples forever. I won't, but I could.
Okay, right. Let's pick out some of the stages we want to talk about. I will pick one for you, Tom, and it is stage. Bear with me. Stage 6, Palmi to Scalea, Arnaud Démare.
Is this the one that just went in a straight line up the coast the whole way?
This is, Tom, and I think this is quite the feat. Perhaps the most boring stage I've ever watched. And I'm not going to, stand here and bark about flat stages at the Tour de France or flat stages at Grand Tours and, why we shouldn't have them, because I do think we should have them. And I think it's important that the sprinters get their chance. But sadly, I was freelancing that day for a cycling magazine, and I was contractually obliged to watch the entire stage. So from honestly, before the flag drop, I watched the neutralized rollout, which essentially didn't really stop until 600 meters from the finish. Nothing happened. There was one person in the break. The breakaway didn't form for 30 kilometers odd, and one person went in there. It was obviously because he'd been told. Diego Rosa, by the way, thank you for making it slightly interesting.
Giving me something to write about.
Gave me something to write about. I wrote a 500-word report, and it's basically Rosa's up the road. He's still up the road. He's enjoying a day out under the Italian sun. That's basically what I wrote.
Sponsors getting a lot of exposure.
Yeah, the Burger King on the back of his shorts.
Exactly. If there's one brand that needs a bit more awareness given to them, it's Burger King. No.
You know what? I wouldn't, be here that keen to talk about Burger King or the sponsors or, giving them airtime. But considering they gave me something to look at and enjoy for that day, I'm willing to give them that airspace on this podcast.
I like a BK, but I'm not because I see it on the cyclist shorts. It's normally just there in a train station, and I need something to eat before I get on a train or a flight or whatever.
Wonderful anecdote, as always.
Well,
another one of your great travel anecdotes. And yeah, Arnaud Démare won, and that is one of the stages that I wanted to talk about because it's one of the ones that I've actually watched all the way through.
Well, Arnaud Démare, I think, was the main talking point I wanted to bring into this as well, because he's got a habit of doing this. He's won 2 stages at this Giro now, and there's been a few years now where I think he's come through and performed really well at the Giro at this early stage in the year, and then just disappears until next year's Giro again.
But he's managed to do it enough that I always keep him in my mind as one of the best sprinters in the world.
Yeah. But when have you ever really seen him do it at the Tour? I think he's probably struggled going into the Tour because FDJ obviously have gone into the Tour most years with GC ambitions and aren't really there to support a sprinter. But I don't know. There's so many years where I've seen Démare win 3 or 4 stages at the Giro and then never seen him again for the rest of the year.
Well, you know what? Good for him.
Yeah.
Look, find your niche. And as we're realizing with Romain Bardet, the sooner French riders move to an Italian Grand Tour, the better, because they have that burden off their shoulders and they're just free. They're free like Bardet, free like Démare to win back-to-back stages, which he also did, Tom, here's a stat for you, in 2020 when he won the Ciclamino points jersey.
That is a good stat, 'cause I did not know that.
Back-to-back stages he won in 2020, yeah. He won stages 6 and 7 then. He won stages 5 and 6 this year.
Well, as I say, we're still in these early stages as well. If Démare can make it all the way, this is the other thing with it being so backloaded, though. The sprinters have to take their chances early, don't they? Because it is going to be a struggle towards the end.
I mean, the Blockhouse stage was the first one that was a proper brute, and that was over 5,000 meters of climbing. Now, I don't want to, peddle the narrative, if you pardon the pun, Tom, that sprinters can't climb because. Look, they're professional cyclists. They're the best of the best. They can go uphill. They can go downhill. They can go fast in a straight line. But it happens, doesn't it, where they bow out.
Look, you've hit the nail on the head there. These sprinters.
Thank you.
You compare your times up some of these hills, if you've done them, to any of the sprinters in the professional peloton, and they will leave you for dead. The only reason they look bad at this climbing is because they've got to get inside a time cut, and the stopwatch is being started when Richard Carapaz and Romain Bardet cross the line.
Yeah, but it's not fair. I mean, they're going up these climbs and they've got to keep pace to an extent with a 55 kilogram South American.
Yeah, who's spent his life cycling up the Andes. From that, but the point is, the sprinters, they want to make their money. They want to take their wins. They're not going to do it in the mountains, are they? So even though they can climb much better than most of us, why bother?
Why bother? Just leave it. Get in the gruppetto, have a nice day out. And actually, as I say that, I think the people in the gruppetto end up having the hardest day out of all.
If you're one of those guys who does miss the time cut, you have had a horrible day.
Well, this is what Lewis Askey was telling us, wasn't he, recently? That some of the hardest days out on the bike that he's had have been when he's been in the gruppetto, and you're basically fighting. Or he was saying that, that's what he thinks is the hardest, because that's when you're really fighting against yourself and you don't even know whether you're going to be in the race the next day or not.
Well, I guess one of them, you don't want to be in the gruppetto, do you? You're only there because you haven't got the legs to be further up the road, and if you fall further behind, that's it. It's the end. So what are you going to do?
Little segue here, Tom. One man who is either at the thick end of the race or in the gruppetto usually is a certain Thomas de Gent. Now, I worked out a stat yesterday.
I think Saturday. I know the stat because I think you tweeted it.
I did tweet it. Yep. And that is that Thomas de Gent is the first Tom to win a World Tour race this year. And it could be to win a race overall this year, but I did not have the time to look into non-World Tour races. We've had a few Tims. Tim Merlier won a couple of races, but no Toms. And Thomas de Gent did it in classic fashion in Napoli, a place that you hold very close to your heart.
Yeah, well, I've been once and I like the football team.
It was only fitting then that a Tom won in Napoli.
Yeah, as you said, Thomas.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
The thing I'm struggling with here is there are there are about 8 or 9 Italian cities that I never shut up about these days. The more time I spend in it, it's just the whole country. So we do the same when they finish wherever they go. You wait for when they finish in Yezi on Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever that is. That is, I'll be there in a month.
Well, that's Tuesday. That's the first stage after the rest day where they finish in Yezi. You're about a month too late, sadly, for getting there.
I was very close to being there, but I'm unfortunately can't make it.
Well, let's jump back in then to what we have seen. I think the first 3 stages were very good, and we're not going to mention where they were because of certain laws that were passed in that country, and we don't want to give it much airtime. But we're going to talk about the riders and what they did in those first 3 stages. Mathieu van der Poel, as we predicted, Tom, as I think the entire world predicted, won stage 1.
Yeah, it was one of them. Whenever I spend a lot of time here talking about Mathieu van der Poel and predicting him to win and feeling very smug when he does. And then I'm just sort of there thinking, well, he's undoubtedly the best one-day rider in the world. It's not really a bold prediction every time, is it? It's so yeah, everyone thought he'd win. He won.
Well, so look, a caveat to this debate is that
he made it more difficult than it should have been, to be fair.
He definitely did. And something that I'm enjoying about this is that Biniam Girmay is really emerging as a potential challenger to, that one-day group of riders that seem to do really well in stages that are kind of very classic-y.
He's one of them. Yeah,
Girmay's got 4 or 5 years on the rest of them.
I had no idea what was going on that first stage. I'll be honest. The TV coverage also seemed to have no idea, which is really where I get most of my perspective from. So I was told by Rob Hatch that Mathieu van der Poel had been spat out the back, and then all of a sudden he was there winning the stage. And I was just going, well, hang on, what's going on here? And then, I think all our eyes were taken. Well, my eyes were certainly on Caleb Ewan, because I was like, what on earth are you still doing here? And then he unfortunately just for some reason rode into the back of Girmay.
I think the
not
phrase
really sure why he did that.
The phrase you're looking for is that he binned himself.
Yeah, completely self-inflicted. Looked quite painful, so wouldn't recommend doing it. But I think that might be a contributing factor to why he's not. Why Arnaud Démare's taken 2 stages, and obviously we haven't got onto it yet. But Mark Cavendish won the first sprint as well.
Yeah, well, I think with the sprinters this stage, what was the stage? It was the one to Messina where they had that big lump in the middle.
Yeah, which Démare took, and they said that he took the same stage that had exactly the same profile the last time they did it, basically, as well.
Interesting. What happened in that stage was that the other 2 sprinters got spat on the climb and they couldn't get on. So Caleb Ewan has had some quite tough luck, actually, so far this year. He binned himself on the first stage. He got dropped on stage 5. Stage 6 was his third opportunity to sprint, and he didn't even manage to open up he'd had 2 opportunities before to sprint, and he hadn't managed to get to the sprint and open up a sprint.
Yeah.
Then his third opportunity, he got pipped on the line in a photo finish by Arnaud Démare.
Yeah, which
and now he's got to get through the climb if he wants another pop at it.
I think, as you said, that stage on Tuesday is relatively flat into Yezi, isn't it?
Could well be. Let me have a look for you, Tom. So the Yezi stage on Tuesday is very, very flat for the first half of it. Then the second half, so it's 196 kilometers. So the first 100 kilometers is very flat. Then it kind of is very rolling, undulating.
Gets a bit bumpy. Yeah, I think I've got that wrong.
It's a classic breakaway day, I think.
Yeah, once the GC is a bit more settled and they can give some guys some time up the road. And then, it's the next day, the cheese stage that we talked about is pan flat. And I think that's one for the sprinters. Okay,
well, look, let's cross our fingers for Caleb Ewan, because I think he's had enough tough luck. It'd be nice for him to get a stage.
Yeah.
And also, let's bear in mind that Morku's dropped out now, so Cavendish hasn't really got a chance.
Well, you say that, but when he did win, he launched his sprint from about 400 meters to go, so it was a long one.
He did kick it into the wind. Yeah. What was he doing? Actually, I would quite like to see him do it without Michael Morku, just to prove to people that, look, yes, the lead-out man is very important, but the sprint is good too. And I think there's a weird narrative around those two, which is that Morku probably gets more credit than he deserves for it. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, but everyone's like, Cav wins a sprint, and everyone's like, wow, Michael Morku, what a great lead out man. And it's like, yeah, I agree with you. He's a very, very good lead out man. He's probably the best we've had in the business for maybe ever. Bearing in mind, I have no idea anything kind of pre 2005. So I'm willing to make that glancing statement. But Cav is also very good.
Yeah, look, there have been plenty of times before when Mark Cavendish has had to win without lead out. He obviously had Renshaw with him for most of his career, who also did the same job and just delivered him exactly where he needed to be. But there were times, whatever, Renshaw, there was that time he got kicked out the Tour for headbutting. Who was it? The Americans. It was the Garmin riders. It was the American teams. Whoever was leading out, it was Julian Dean leading out Tyler Farrar, and Renshaw just. I mean, no one can see that what I was doing on the camera
this
there.
Is an audio platform, Tom.
Yeah, but what I've done is a big like Zidane at the World Cup motion there. Yeah, it's happened other times where Cav's been without his lead out. Either it's not been there. That year he spent at Sky where they had Bradley Wiggins in the team and were concentrating on the GC, and he had to go and contest the sprints on his own. Without obviously, well, to be fair, on the Champs-Élysées, they had Cav in the rainbow jersey being led out by Wiggins in the yellow jersey, and that was quite cool. But otherwise, I don't think he's ever needed the lead out man, but if it's there, you use it.
You don't think he's ever needed the lead out man?
Certainly not in his early career when he was absolutely untouchable. Okay. He's always said, like, look, if it's available to you, you obviously use it and take it as the option. But no, I don't think he needs it.
Okay. Well, what we're seeing now is that, well, people think Cav is trying to put himself, on the top shelf now to say, look, I'm the best. Take me to the Tour.
Take me to the Tour. Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was ever really in the plan that Cav would ride 2 Grand Tours this year. But from the very little amount of coverage that I've actually seen of the Tour of Hungary, I'm pretty sure Fabio Jakobsen got smoked by Dylan Groenewegen yesterday, so Saturday, by like 3 or 4 bike lengths. And Cav is up there competing with some of the best sprinters in the world in Arnaud Démare, who we've already established kind of has that, footing as one of the best sprinters in the world, but only really does it at the Giro. Caleb Ewan.
Yeah, no, this Giro is definitely the sprinters tour at the moment. And
Cav's holding his own. So I don't see why he couldn't go to the Tour.
Other than Groenewegen, who you'd have to think will be going to the Tour, just because of the way that Bike Exchange team, they're obviously riding this Giro for Simon Yates. So I don't think they'll be going to the Tour with a GC in mind. I think they want to win sprint stages. I mean, that's why you signed Dylan Groenewegen as well. Mm-hmm. So other than Groenewegen, all the best sprinters appear to have gone for the Giro as well. I mean, not Jakobsen either, but you say if Jakobsen hasn't got the legs, then
yeah, I think the only ones that are missing really there are the Alpecin sprinters, which are Philipsen and Malir, who are very, very good on their day. So we'll see what they're one of those. Well, maybe even both of them. Probably not both of them. Philipsen will probably end up going to the Tour, and he'll be a real contender for it. But we're not talking about the Tour here, Tom. We're talking about the Giro. And
as usual, I'm just talking about Mark Cavendish.
You mentioned Simon Yates there. He got spat today. Big time spat. As soon as we hit the foot of Blockhouse, 13 kilometers to the finish, he was dropped out the back. He's been having knee issues. So I wouldn't be surprised if I don't know. If he's fallen minutes down on the GC now. So he might even end up dropping out of this and thinking, let's go for the Tour
instead. Go for the Tour instead.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see it.
It seems to have been a running theme in both Yates brothers' career that they go in with GC ambitions, have a bad day, and then, start going after the points jersey, summit stages. They're both very unbelievable climbers who just take these one-day wins, but have never been able to put it together for 3 weeks.
Check yourself, Tom, because you're talking about Simon Philip Yates,
the
winner of the Vuelta a España, the hardest, toughest, and best Grand Tour there is.
Right. Okay. Obviously, I knew he was a Vuelta winner, but that's what I mean. He won that Vuelta at such a young age, and has just failed to deliver on that potential since. That's quite a harsh assessment.
That's a really harsh assessment.
Yeah. But after that Vuelta, I thought, right, this is it. We've got another British Grand Tour maestro. This is another 5-6 years. and it's just not materialized that way. And they've seemed to have struggled at Grand Tours since.
Yeah, well, you won't be glad to hear either that Hugh Carthy, another one who has excelled at the Vuelta, was also spat today. So it wasn't a great day for the Brits, really.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I was going to mention in our preview last time out was how many Brits there are riding and how much potential there is for British riders to do well. So, yeah,
no, we had
not really what we want to hear.
No, we had James Knox in the break, but he got swallowed back up, and that was about the extent of British excellence on display today. Let's go through the GC then, Tom, to finish.
Yeah.
I want to tell you. I'll go through it, and we'll play a little game, and it will be. You will tell me whether you think that person will still be in the top 10 at the end of the race.
Okay.
So we'll start from the bottom. Pello Bilbao.
No.
Okay. We don't. Let's not question him. Let's do the quick fire.
No, there is some method to it. Simply because Landa's ahead of him, so you'd think Bilbao at this point will be riding for Landa.
Okay. Bilbao also had some big road rash today, so
yeah,
he's not going to be sleeping well the next few nights. Can I just mention him on topic of road rash? I know I said quick fire, but I just want to say this. Adam Blythe on the commentary today was talking about how when you get, and this was the most like visceral, quite like violent description of something that they've said on there that has really made me kind of wince.
Do I want to know?
So for some reason, I'm now going to repeat it on this podcast. He said that when you get road rash, obviously when the sun is beating down, you're going to get sunburn anyway. He was like, but apparently it's so painful when the sun is beating down on your road rash, which has no sun cream on it. It's directly, onto your flesh.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what I wanted to say.
Yeah, it's quite graphic.
It's not nice, is it?
No, thanks.
Anyway, it really made me feel for Pello Bilbao.
It's all right, because I've just seen who's next on the GC, so I'm going to enjoy this one.
Emmanuel Bookman.
Your man himself.
Yeah, one day he'll win something big, and I'll feel
like
really
the Welter
justified.
Without entering it.
Yeah. Carry on. Yes or no? I'm guessing you're going to say no.
For the same reason. Yep.
Okay.
He's got a teammate further up there.
Domenico Pozzovivo.
Yeah, why not?
Oh, that's a bold one. Okay, fair enough. I saw somebody say about Pozzovivo the other day that they think he looks like he rides with his saddle about 2 inches too low because he's got that big gait.
Knees up to his chest.
Yeah. Mikel Landa.
Yes.
Okay. Guillaume Martin.
Yes. Do you want me to save you some time for the rest of the GC?
You think they're all going to be there?
Yeah, they're all up there as team leaders.
Yeah. Juanpe López is not going to be there at the end.
Yeah. He'll hang on. While you're in the jersey gives you that extra. He's obviously not going to win it, but he'll hang on for as long as he can.
And you reckon he'll hang on for a top 10? I think there's going to come a day where he's going to explode and ship like 15 minutes.
Don't know. No, I think you can.
Okay. No, don't change your mind.
I'm not going to change my mind. No, I'm not going to. I was going to say, right, look, we'll agree to disagree as usual. I think he'll remain in the top 10. Okay. So you also think Hindley, Carapaz, Bardet, and Almeida will be in the top 10? Yeah, that probably will be your top 5, to be honest. Yeah. Bardet. Should we close on Bardet? You've been trying to close on Bardet for 5 or 6 years now. Very good. Very good. Yeah. Right. You know what? Let's just end it there. Yeah. All right. See you, everyone. We will check back in. When's our next rest day? Next Monday. We've got a week, Tom. Let's watch some Giro. I'll be honest, it's been a bit boring, hasn't it? Not to be a bit cliche, look, it's been a bit boring. I think we've struggled for stuff to talk about today, but it's been boring, and it's not our fault. Looking for a bit more action next week. Yeah. So if they could, if any of you riders are listening, could you just buck up your ideas, please? Launch do something. Yeah, Van der Poel tried to launch a long attack the other day. It didn't really stick, and I was like, that just sums up this Giro so far. There's nice narratives at play. Tom Dumoulin did some helping the other day. Tom de Gent won a stage. The Toms are doing well, but I want something big. As I said, this is all just a little bit of a preamble. Once that touch paper's lit, it's going to go mad, and that's what we're waiting for. Yeah, we're talking stages 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20. That's when the riders are going to get their heads kicked in. Yeah, and that's what we're going to talk about some of next Monday. And wow, is it going to be enthralling? Better be.
Okay, right. Well, Tom, in between then, if something interesting happens, where can people read our thoughts on it?
As I say, yeah, the most interesting thing that happened today was I screenshotted a text you sent me and tweeted it. So that's the sort of content that people could expect if they go
Bar is
to
low.
at TTPDCST.
Wonderful. Well, Tom, thank you for giving up your time to speak about this rather flaccid 9 stages of bike racing.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening, everyone, I guess.
Yeah, and thank you everyone for listening. And we'll speak to you next time. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.